What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet Violet moveset guide video. Today we're going to be talking about a Pokemon that I think is kind of slept on right now in the metagame, that I think is really solid into all of the ruinous legendary Pokemon, and that Pokemon is Azumarill. Azumarill is one that I've played with a handful of times, both back in Series 1 as well as in Series 2. It's just a really solid pick if you need a good water type, and I think it continues to be that solid water type pick moving into Regulation C. I think it's a fantastic bring. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this in the future. And question of the day, what is your favorite Azumarill set to run? But let's get into it. So Azumarill is, like I said, just a really solid pick right now, mainly because of its typing. It plays fantastically into all of the ruinous legendary Pokemon, with the exception of Wo-Chien, if Wo-Chien's running like Giga Drain or something like that. But even still, it can handle Wo-Chien very effectively, and is just an incredibly powerful Pokemon. So the set that I have here is Azumarill with Assault Vest, Thick Fat, which... not thick fat. Why would I have thick fat on it? Huge power is what you're looking for to double your Pokemon's attack. Then you have Liquidation, Ice Spinner, Play Rough, and Aqua Jet. The EV spread is 244 HP, 252 attack, and 12 defense. And the Assault Vest makes up for your special defense, right? This is just incredibly strong. Think about the ruinous legends available. First off, we have like Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu is not going to want to take a hit from a Liquidation or even an Ice Spinner from this particular Pokemon. It is going to do a crazy amount of damage, right? Just incredibly powerful. Then you look at Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao really doesn't have anything that does a lot of damage to Azumarill. Azumarill takes all of its attacks very well. So you're able to go in and do some play rough damage to that and handle that Pokemon very effectively. You're able to take on Wo-Chiens with play roughs or Ice Spinners, just a very powerful option. And then Chi-Yu does literally nothing to this with an Assault Vest. Its main moves are going to be like Heat Wave or Overheat with Dark Pulse, and both of those are resisted by Azumarill. So you really just don't have to care about Chi-Yu at all and just do tons of damage to that particular Pokemon. So it plays into all the ruinous legends so incredibly well. I think for this particular format, because you are mainly focusing on the fact that, you know, this is an answer for all the ruins, Fairy Terra typing makes a lot of sense in this situation, where you can just double your play rough damage with a ×2 stab and just do massive work. I think it's incredibly powerful for this particular Pokemon. So for me personally, I think that the Fairy Terra typing works very well. Obviously, Grass is still very nice to counterplay Amoonguss and things of that nature. So definitely a solid option as well to still run Grass. But this is not the only way that you can play Azumarill right now. Obviously, you know, there are all the stall teams popping up with Garganacl, with Wo-Chien, with Glamora. All those things are still going on. So I definitely think that a Perish Song option for Azumarill is something that makes a lot of sense and plays very well. I played with a team that Moxie Boosted made on the ladder quite a bit. That is a Perish Song focused team. Super fun. So I think that Azumarill playing in that sense can still be a really strong attacker, but also be that setup Pokemon for something like a Perish Song that can just cause tons of problems for the opposing team. So I really think that I prefer the Assault Vest version of this Pokemon because it mainly goes for damage and does things that Azumarill normally would. I'm not a big Perish Song player, but Perish Song does make a lot of sense in this particular format with a lot of the tools that we have available to us. Now, we've already talked about how Azumarill just kind of deals with all the ruinous Pokemon, but we could still talk about some of the ways that it deals with a lot of the other prevalent Pokemon in the format. For one, we are still seeing like Mousate pop up here and there. Oops. Anyways, like I said, we are still seeing Mousate pop up. Plays very well into Mousate because one of the favorite Terra types for Annihilate is Fire, and it doesn't like taking a play rough from this particular Pokemon. So plays very well into that. Fluttermane just doesn't take physical attacks all that well at all, so it does play into Fluttermane pretty well. It just very nicely for that particular Pokemon. If you are using the Grass Terra typing for Amoonguss, an Ice Spinner into Amoonguss does incredible amounts of damage as well. So there are some potential counterplays into Amoonguss depending on the Terra type in the build that you are running on Azumarill. But then you also have to think about all the Dragon types running around right now, right? Like Garchomp is seeing some use with a Fire Terra typing. Azumarill plays into that fantastically. Because you can get them to use their Terra and then hit them with like a Liquidation or something and just do incredible amounts of damage. So that's really popular. Also, you know, just Dragapult's running around. You're able to hit them with an Ice Spinner or a Play Rough. Same goes for Dragonite. Just a lot of Pokemon right now don't like dealing with Azumarill. Nothing likes dealing with Amoonguss, but Azumarill. And there's just a lot of things that this particular Pokemon plays into so effectively. Obviously, you can deal with Arcanines pretty well. Another Pokemon that you don't necessarily have, like, super effective damage against, but you can handle pretty effectively is a Kingambit, because Kingambit really doesn't have a move that does a ton of damage to an Azumarill, unless it's running, like, maybe Terra Flying, Terra Blast. But even still, you're able to Ice Spinner into that and do a crazy amount of damage. The nice thing also with Azumarill is while you can play it under, you know, like a normal setting, maybe with just like Tailwind or something, if you maybe invest more into the speed, it does play incredibly well under Trick Room, and it's something you can definitely work onto a team to have both ends of the spectrum. Maybe you wanted to have a little bit of Tailwind option, a little bit of Trick Room option, then Azumarill is a really good option for teams with that style of play. But now we could talk about teammates that play very nicely next to an Azumarill. It just makes a lot of sense for things like Arcanine to be on a team with Azumarill. Obviously, you can eat a grass type attack, rotating an Arcanine into a slot, so it makes a lot of sense there. Ting-Lu also is very nice because you can just boost that special defense even further. So I really think that Ting-Lu is a nice teammate. I think Ting-Lu of the Ruinous Legendary Pokemon fits onto most teams because it's not necessary to build around it. Ting-Lu is there to be a wall and lower the special attack of opposing Pokemon, so it just kind of sits there and does its thing and just takes hits, and I really think that it fits on just a vast number of teams for that particular reason. But then also, if you consider the fact that Azumarill is a physical attacker, putting it next to a Chien-Pao is very, very powerful. You're going to make this Pokemon that already does a lot of damage do even more damage, so I definitely think that Chien-Pao next to an Azumarill can be a very, very solid team. Maybe even throw like a Pelipper on there to lower the fire type damage into your Chien-Pao. There's a lot of options there for this particular combo to go off. Gothitel's one that works very well, especially if you're running the Perish Song variant of Azumarill. Gothitelle, just being as a Trick Room setter, you don't even necessarily have to run it as like a Shadow Tag exclusive thing to set up Perish Song. You could run the Assault Vest variant and do things like Heal Pulse, Psychic, maybe not even do Heal Pulse, but do something like Thunder Wave, and just be more of a support type Pokemon. Do Thunder Wave and then Protect or Fake Out, and this Pokemon is super, super nice next to Azumarill, and you could do a lot of really fun stuff under Trick Room, especially if you're running like Ting-Lu as well. There's a lot of things that you could do with these three Pokemon, so it's another really solid option for playing around Azumarill's low speed tier. But as always, we got to talk about the Pokemon you got to worry about if you're playing Azumarill, because there are Pokemon popping up right now that can be problematic. Now, some of these are going to be less common and more like common on the ladder, but less common in like a tournament setting. But for one, like a Bombasnow right now makes a lot of sense. You really do need to worry about this Pokemon a fair bit, because a Bombasnow right now can just run Energy Ball and be there for like the bundle snow stuff that we're seeing pop up, and can be a really big problem. Also, you have to worry about Bundle itself. Iron Bundle still is very prevalent, still very powerful, and can just rock you with a Freeze Dry. So that is something you have to be aware of going up into a particular matchup like this one. Fluttermane is one you do have to be cautious of, because it's always going to outspeed you for the most part, unless you do get your Trick Room up. And it's oftentimes carrying Thunderbolt these days, so you do have to be a little cautious playing into a Fluttermane with an Azumarill, because it can just T-Bolt you, and most of the time they're running like Choice Specs or Booster Energy to boost their special attack these days, so you can really take a big hit from this particular Pokemon, and it's something you have to be watching for. Like I mentioned earlier, Wo-Chien can potentially be a problem. It lowers your attack already, but then on top of that, some are running things like Giga Drain, which can do massive damage to your Azumarill, so you really have to be cautious of that as well. This Pokemon, while it does get countered by Azumarill, like they check each other, it is still something that is very threatening to Azumarill. Now, while Gyarados doesn't have anything that's going to just outright knock Azumarill out, being able to come out and intimidate it and set it with like a Thunder Wave or something really, really hinders your Azumarill, and I think Gyarados is a really solid option to this Pokemon, because you don't really have a great answer for it aside from your neutral damage attack and Play Rough. But other than that, this Pokemon just kind of just stands in front of an Azumarill and just doesn't really care about its existence. So Gyarados is a really solid bring into this particular Pokemon as well. I am actually still seeing Brute Bonnet pop up here and there, and I think Brute Bonnet makes sense in the sense that, you know, you just get bullet seeded, so you do have to be cautious of that with Azumarill. It's not something that pops up a ton, but it's still something to make note of. Same deal goes for Sandy Shocks. You're seeing this Pokemon pop up here and there still, and I think Sandy Shocks is actually fairly decent in the current format. So it's definitely a Pokemon you need to keep your eye on because it can just rock an Azumarill. A lot of the times it does Terra Grass, and you're able to do just massive damage to an Azumarill with a Terra Blast if you're trying to get away from super effective damage, or it can obviously just T-Bolt. There's a lot going on here with this particular Pokemon that you have to be worried about. But all in all, Azumarill is just such a fun Pokemon to use, and I think it's incredibly solid in this particular metagame. I think it's something that we'll start seeing pop up a bit more, and you've already seen it a couple times in tournament settings that have made day 2. This Pokemon does just keep popping up, and I think there are very good reasons for it. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Also, be sure to check out the Discord where people over there playing Pokemon all the time. And if you want to see anything more from me, check out this video where I use Justin Tang's Dragapult team on the ladder. Super fun team. Also check out this video of the Garchomp team that I built myself that is just so consistent and so much fun to use. I highly recommend trying that one out, and also check out this video showing why Garchomp is so good in this current format. But until next time, peace.